So I got diagnosed with ADHD my first semester of law school. So I had basically up to law school, I'd always been able to kind of cope and get by, but law school's not easy. I mean, it's tough, but it kind of just helped me see, okay, there's something, not quite right here with my inability to pay attention, no matter what the topic may be. Civil procedure is boring, but it is not that boring. Um, but so I getting diagnosed with ADHD and finally getting on medication and adapting and seeing basically all of my study habits that had been developed as a coping mechanism for my ADHD that was undiagnosed at the time. So it kind of like forced me to reshape all of my study material, like study tactics and stuff like that.
My challenges were more internal, mental health struggles. You kind of have this pressure of, well, everybody sees that my dad did it, so I should be able to do it and do it at a high level. And then you realize, my journey there is a little different than my dad's was, or, other family members that I've had. So, a lot of anxiety, stress, things like that, panic attacks, all things that I've dealt with, but am very vocal about because it helped kind of shape me in my journey to becoming a lawyer. And a lot of, it grows confidence. It does all these sorts of things. So my struggles were more in that realm, both before law school, in law school, and, even to some extent now being an attorney, because it's, you're on the big stage. There's no more do-overs and things like that.
Something that I have always dealt with is just that self-doubt of like, am I good enough to actually do this? Am I good enough to take the tests to get into law school? Am I good enough to do well in law school? Or once I graduate, am I good enough to pass the bar? And the funny thing is that question of am I good enough or can I do it doesn't go away when you become an attorney. It just gets louder. And so it may be, am I good enough to write a motion that's going to win? Am I good enough to get an outcome that the client needs to happen? And so for me, that's a challenge that I deal with on my path to become a lawyer, but also something I still deal with today. If you can sit down and say that you've worked something to the best of your ability, to the maximum preparation that you can, to the point where you left no stone unturned to put the client in the best position possible, that's as best as you can from getting away from your own self-doubt.
It was very lonely for me to be in a different state, away from all my friends, all my family. And my grandpa got really sick when I was in law school. So I was already isolated in law school. And it kind of does. I later found out that a lot of people feel isolated in law school. There is a lot of that. And so I think if I knew then what I know now, I would have reached out to more people in law school so I wouldn't feel so alone. And it puts you in a place of just being lonely when you don't have a support system. And I had a support system, they just weren't nearby. I called my friends a lot. I video called my family a lot. I tried to go back as much as I could. I flew to Brazil on spring breaks and summer breaks. I studied abroad every opportunity I had, and I made friendships. I met my now fiance in law school studying abroad, and then I got really close to his family. So then I spent all the time I had in Kansas City with him and his family and our friends.
I was born with a speech impediment. So the idea of like, I can't really talk too well, and then becoming a lawyer, that kind of seems like those are contradicting with each other. And I had to work on that. A lot of speech class, a lot of trial courses.
One of the biggest challenges I faced was overcoming the hurdle of deciding to go to law school in the first place. It's a big commitment to decide to spend 3 more years in school when all I wanted to do was start working. And I still love my work, but it was a big commitment and a big decision to go to law school in the first place. But once I was in, it was very rewarding and I enjoyed it.